Hello guys and welcome to another video on our channel. I hope you're all doing great, cause today we'll check one of the best RPGs of the summer, Fuga Melodies of Steel. So I hope you're ready to subscribe to our channel and you're ready to see what I prepared today. When CyberConnect 2 released Style Concerto back in 1998, on the original PlayStation, it was their first project as a game studio, and the company has continued to return to that world throughout their story. 2010's Celatoraba Red the Hunter finally continued the company's work in that world, now called Little Tail Bronx. But much like its predecessor, it failed to capture a particularly large audience, and once again the company was left unable to find a publisher for another entry in loosely tied series. Unlike the two prior entries in the series to hit consoles, Fuga is a turn-based strategy RPG. Players control a party of 12 children, piloting the giant tank Tyrannis on a conquest to rescue their parents, who have been captured by the invading Burman army. In each chapter you will start off on a road, with sections denoting item pickups, health and SP restoration creds, and events like intermission, points, battles, elite battles, and ruins. Every so often the road will branch, and you're afforded the option of choosing which part to take. The game will helpfully let you know which of the roads is the more dangerous, and you will have to wait whether you're fine with challenging yourself for the sake of additional materials that can later be used to update your tank, or to tackle less of challenge and not risk any unnecessary damage. Your party members will act accordingly to their position on a timeline, located at the top of the screen. Here you can find both your party as well as the enemies, so you can plan your attack accordingly. Underneath an enemy's health bar, you will find several colored clock icons. These denote a specific type of gun, and if you attack them with the right color-coded unit for each clock underneath their name, you will be able to delay their actions. Second, armor rankings. While your first instinct might be to delay a unit, some might come with armor that will drastically reduce the damage that they will take from attacks. Usually these enemies won't be delayed by the same sort of attacks that can reduce their armor ranking, so you will frequently find yourself juggling between multiple guns to deal with a heavily armored unit most effectively. Finally, rounding things off are a variety of status effects, link attacks, and the gyro system. Certain skills will have a modifier to apply either a buff to a specific unit or the entire party, or a debuff that has a percentage chance to apply to the units attacked. These debuffs can be seriously useful. Fire will deal damage over time for every turn that passes for a unit, and will deal the same damage regardless of the unit's armor ranking. A smoke will lower a unit's accuracy, which might make the difference for longer engagements. Stun is by far the most effective, acting as an additional delay, but the chance for it to activate is lower, and some units are immune. Also, that's usually not the case. Both link attacks and the hero system tie into the other main component of the game, the intermission. I don't think it would be an exaggeration to say that it's the intermissions that Fuga's entire gameplay loop is designed around. After all, the whole reason for tackling tougher roads through a chapter is to get more rare materials for upgrades. The catch, of course, is that if you're too greedy, even if you might survive an encounter, any units that are injured or knocked out become an instant liability, which you will be forced to spend action points to recover during the intermission. Points that could have otherwise gone towards buffs, upgrades, or gathering additional materials. Any chapter that's had their desire met during the latest intermission will rise their hero meter over time. As they both deal and receive damage, and once they reach a fever pitch, their eyes will begin to glow and they will gain a buff. This can be anything from adding an additional hit to their normal attack, doubling skill damage, making it so that your normal attack will ignore armor as well as strip all armor from the unit in question, and more. Each child's hero mode is wholly unique, and this adds another wrinkle to matters, where depending on your playstyle you might decide to ignore one child's desires entirely. Fuga's battle system is undeniably a lot to take in, but it all comes down to the game's one very clear philosophy: resource management. You're constantly making decisions for which roads to take, which enemies to fight, by balancing out your desire for extra resources versus the dangers of spreading yourself too thin. You've got to have a game plan, and a plan for if things head south. You even see this at the end of each chapter, whenever you visit the remnants of a town before heading on the next leg of your journey. You can't simply buy new use items or materials, you have to barter, giving up other items in exchange. Similarly, during ruin explorations, a little side activity where you dismount the terrains to gather materials in a side-scrolling action segment. Deciding when to use the toy bullets that you pick up along the way can determine how much treasure you will ultimately be able to salvage. The gameplay loop is incredibly engaging, and the result is that you're constantly planning your moves well in advance. Boss fights are challenging fun, almost always taxing your knowledge of the battle system, while rewarding you in kind if you're duly prepared. Making your way through a tough situation without having your party members get injured is a thrill. And though I managed to build up my party to the point where the last few chapters weren't nearly as taxing as the rest of the game, getting to that point was still a struggle. Fuga's overall presentation is overflowing with charm. Whether it's the swaying animations of the terrains in motion, the detailed backdrops that shift and make way to new landmarks as you proceed across the environment, or the absolutely gorgeous soundtrack with a number of vocal themes by Liam, you will be hard-pressed to not find yourself overtaken by Fuga's charm. Even the story, perhaps the game's weakest point, still offers plenty to love all on its own. Reading the Burman wrappers after each chapter gives some insight into how events directly tie into some of these children's lives. The adorable comic book issues that get added to the library after each chapter are adorable. And Solatorobo fans in particular will have a lot to look forward to in the game's later acts. For me, Fuga Melodies of Steel is the most feel-good release of the year so far. I always hoped it would be great, and my impressions of the game 2 years ago at Anime Expo made me sure that the game was on the right track. But you'll never truly know how a game will land until you had a chance to sit down and play the whole thing for yourself. I can only hope that Fuga is the start of a grand new chapter in CyberConnect 2's journey as a developer, as their team has showcased some serious chops when it comes to designing an RPG.